Hey guys, Dylan from Noble Records coming at you with another video. As you guys know, a couple weeks ago I moved, and in the process of packing everything up, I found a cigar box with a bunch of like keepsakes and stuff from my childhood, arrowheads and shark's teeth and stuff I'd found, guitar picks, and in there was a bunch of concert ticket stubs and stuff, and a list of my top 10 favorite albums that I'd made when I was like 14 years old. It was hilarious going through it and seeing that. I never knew, in the future I would have a YouTube channel where I would talk about, best albums or whatever. So I got a kick out of it. I thought you guys might get a kick out of seeing what my picks were back then. Before we get started, if you guys wouldn't mind, hit that subscribe button down there. Also, if you'd like, there's a little bell button down there. You can click that and turn on post notifications so you guys can see whenever I post a video and never miss out on any of that stuff. Also, if you don't know me, I own a record store in North Carolina. We have an Instagram page, Facebook page. Follow us on Instagram. That's where you can keep in contact with us the best. It's at Noble Records. And yeah, we're always posting all the cool records and things we're finding in the collections we're buying. So check us out there to stay in touch. To give you a little bit of context, when I was 14 years old, I was like so hard into rock and roll. Like very typical 14-year-old that's into rock and roll. I really only listened to the common stuff. I didn't know any obscure stuff. So a lot of this is stuff that got radio play, classic rock stuff, but there's a couple curveballs in here you might not see coming. But these are just my favorites. Like back then, I was 14 in 2002. So I'm not too terribly old of an old man, but back then, record stores, they were around, but I didn't know about them. I lived out in the country, out on a farm in the middle of nowhere, and I really collected whatever records I could find at local thrift stores. So all my entire collection came from that, but I was able to get a good collection of stuff from thrift stores. I was a guitar player. I was just cutting my teeth with my electric at the time. That's a little bit background of me when I was 14 years old. I was really immersed in this culture of rock and roll. It was very new to me, so I was just scratching the surface. But little did I know, a lot of these picks ended up being the foundation of what my taste is today. So kind of cool to see that. Number 10. Starting off, this is a good album. There's no shame here. Like, this is a pretty solid list. But number 10 is The Doors, self-titled. This is an incredible record. Japanese pressing. But The Doors were influential in psychedelic music. They were one of the early psychedelic bands. You guys know me, I'm super into psych, love it. But also, like, The Doors, since they were such a huge commercial hit, Elektra Records, the label that they were on, had just a huge influx of cash because they just signed one of the biggest acts ever. And so they went out trying to find more things like that. So within that, they were able to sign a lot more really cool psych bands and stuff like that. They signed the Stooges, they signed an MC5, bunch of other killer bands on Elektra, but also just really was one of those albums that they really cut loose on. Jim Morrison was a little wild, for the time. So this is definitely a great album. Great pick, number 10. I still love The Doors. And I hardly ever talk about them, but I really do. Every time I put that album on, I'm like, man, that takes me back. I was a big Doors fan back then. And I suppose I still am. Number 9, this is one. Now, I grew up in the South, so naturally, I had to have a Leonard Skinner album in there. So this is Leonard Skinner, pronounced Leonard Skinner. Phenomenal record. In my opinion, it is underrated. But anyways, and then overrated at the same time. It gets a lot of radio play, but you got Freebird. You got I Ain't the One, which is great. Tuesday's Gone. Give Me 3 Steps. Simple Man. This is a fantastic record. It's still my favorite. And I actually have a really nice, super clean Sounds of the South pressing. So if you're not a huge record nerd, there is a Sounds of the South pressing, and it's got a yellow Sounds of the South No, I believe it's right here, a logo. I've got it somewhere, but as I said, I'm moving, or I just moved, so not everything is where it should be, so I couldn't find it. But if you get that one, that's the one to have. That's the very first pressing, and they're worth a little bit more, and they sound incredible. So, but Leonard Skinner was a huge influence on me. I saw the first band I ever got to see live was Leonard Skinner around that same time. You know, it wasn't the same Leonard Skinner, but it was still, you know, great. But just a fantastic band, incredible lineup, killer players, just a really, really special band to me. Ronnie Van Zant, just so iconic, but like, you know, the whole lineup, everybody in Leonard Skinner were incredible top-rate musicians. You know, Ed King, who I didn't know then, was in Strawberry Alarm Clock, which is a great psychedelic band. I always loved that. This is a reissue. It's got the barcode on it, but I always loved that. It was really iconic artwork for Leonard Skinner. And it's a really cool story about how this picture was taken, that lightning striking in the background. That was not an edit. That really happened. So that was number 9. Number 8. Now, I'm ashamed that this is so far down on the list, because this would be a lot higher on my list now. As far as all these albums, if I had to redo it, the order would be different. But number 8 was Black Sabbath, Paranoid. Black Sabbath is one of my absolute favorite bands now. Then it wasn't, I mean, it was in my top 10, but it wasn't as big. Then I think I felt some guilt about Black Sabbath. I grew up in in the Bible Belt, and my dad was a pastor. So if I was caught listening to Black Sabbath, I was going to get into a lot of trouble. This is an original UK Vertigo pressing. Took me a while to track all the Vertigos down, but anyways, I loved the sound. I knew it was so evil, but you know, it really wasn't. I just could not get enough of Black Sabbath. But the thing is, I had to be very, very sneaky about it. So I had I had some records in there in my collection, a few that I hid. Like, I really did hide them. But also with my CD, when I have like a Walkman or something, I would burn CDs. This was later on, I think. But I would burn CDs and I would write on there like DC Talk or like some Christian band. But I would know that was really Black Sabbath. And so I'll be listening to them, and my dad would be like, "What are you listening to?" I'm like, "It's DC Talk, you know. It's a Christian band, Steve Christian." But anyways, so I had to hide this, which might have made it, you know, forbidden fruit taste a little sweeter. Might have made it even better for me, but just unbelievable for their time. Black Sabbath really laid the groundwork for some incredible metal. And like that early 70s hard rock is incredible. And that's one of my favorite genres now. And Black Sabbath was definitely one of the pioneers of that. I could go on and on, but I shan't. Short. The next one is, I didn't have a copy of this still, but I have, it's the same thing, really. This is AC/DC TNT. This is the first, this is an early, I think it's first, it's an early Albert Productions Australian press. So this is the Australian original. In the US we had High Voltage, but this was TNT. You had High Voltage, TNT, It's a Long Way to the Top, Rock and Roll Singer, Live Wire, The Jack. I loved The Jack. I had no idea what it was about, but I loved it. But yeah, this is, the Australian pressings are, the ones, the record snobs go for. And, but I don't have an original US High Voltage anymore because I have this. But I discovered AC/DC when I was about 12 or 13. And I was so intrigued. And it was another thing, like, they were a little bit on the darker side of things back then. For me, I knew their lyrics were pretty suggestive. But when in Rome. But it was provocative, but I liked it. And I didn't tell my dad about it. So, Dad, if you're watching this, I'm sorry. I think you've already figured that out, that I like rock and roll. But anyways, AC/DC, they have some great albums. Would they be in my top 10 now? Probably not. But just a really killer sound, especially those Bon Sky years. And like that guitar lickage, man, it really got my engines going. Loved it. Next one, number 6, is one that you might not guess would be on my top 10, but it is. I forgot how much I loved this album until I saw this list. And back then, this was one of my absolute favorite albums. Number 6 is Yes, Fragile. This is a Mobile Fidelity Ultra Disc 1-step. Fantastic sounding pressing. I haven't talked a lot about these on my channel, but I do collect these because they are some of the best audio quality that you could ever imagine. Incredible pressing of this. But, you know, back then I didn't know what prog rock was. I had no idea. I just knew that just the technical, that very technical organ-driven guitar synced up, just like beautiful music. I was into it. You know, I didn't know King Crimson or anything like that. But this album, I just remember, you know, roundabout, oh my gosh, it would mesmerize me. It was unbelievable. And just an incredible band. Yes is incredible stuff. I mean, if you're starting a record collection or something, Yes is some amazing classic rock that you can get really cheap. A lot of their albums are $5, $10 and under. But this is just an incredible record. And I mean, this 1-step, this sounds unreal. But yeah, love Yes, roundabout, clocking in at number 6. Number 5, now this is one of my favorite bands now, always will be. My first concert ever was Leonard Skinner, but they were opening for the Allman Brothers. This Eat a Peach, I think part of its original appeal to me was the album art. And I mean, you guys know this is a Mobile Fidelity Sound Lab copy, but this inside album art, oh my gosh, I sat and looked at that all day, every day. I loved it. Still do. But I listened to this the other night, and it is just an incredible work. The Allman Brothers, another Southern rock band, but man, they transcend that genre, man. They are just absolute incredible players. Duane Allman is one of my favorite figures of rock and roll and music altogether. I mean, he was, I mean, at that time I had no idea, but he played on some early soul stuff and like played on Aretha Franklin's, you know, Wilson Pickett, stuff like that. I mean, he did some incredible studio work. But just the Allman Brothers were very well put together, incredible musicians, and they evolved through the years in such an incredible way. But man, I love the Allman Brothers, and that album just, it brings me back. The imagery of it, but I mean, it's that last album that has some Duane on it, and it's amazing. All right, so that was number 5. Number 4 is this beautiful thing, Jimi Hendrix Experience, Electric Ladyland. I originally found a copy of this at a thrift store, and it was super water damaged. And I took it to school with me, and I ran it through the laminator. I took the records out first, but I laminated the whole thing so it would stay intact. I wish I still had that copy because God knows it's worthless, but it meant something to me. And I got in trouble for that also. But yeah, this is just, I love that gatefold too. I was really into it. I mean, I was, you know, back then, throw the record on, read the inner, you know, the liner notes and look at the gatefold and all that stuff. That's my thing, man. I loved it. But yeah, I think one of the biggest draws to this album, and I loved all the Hendrix albums, but this one was my absolute favorite. Voodoo Child and Voodoo Child Slight Return. Voodoo Child Slight Return, it was, you know, that was my first really time I was like, all right, how's he doing that with the guitar? Because I was playing guitar and I was like, what is that? How's he doing that? And I learned, I mean, I got me a wah-wah pedal, and oh man, the rest is history. But just an incredible record, and I loved Voodoo Child, the long, almost 15-minute long blues number. That was just like was transcending to me. I just loved it. This is one that really influenced me a lot in my early years of playing guitar. Cracking down on the top 3 here. Number 3 was the Beatles' Abbey Road. Now this is the 3LP anniversary. It was the 50th anniversary box set, which I've yet to open. I need to get to it. But This is an album that, you know, I didn't think about at the time why I liked it so much, but it's just incredible. I like the Beatles a lot, but this is one of those albums. I think it was probably one of the first ones that I just sat down and I listened to, and I noticed how incredible the whole thing flowed together. But every song on here, I know every single breath of it. It's just one of those that I would put on and just, I mean, I think a lot of people are that way with Abbey Road. You know, I say that the White Album is my favorite Beatles album, but it's probably Abbey Road. I don't know. I go back and forth, but just phenomenal album. No introduction necessary. This is just one of those records that it's just top record for me. I absolutely love it. I still love it. If I had to do a top 10, it would be in it. Next one, I recently did a video on this. Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd. You know, I made like a 30-minute video on why Dark Side of the Moon is so great. It is just incredible record. This is Japanese pressing, obviously. But just beautifully done. The first of its kind, really, just unreal, influenced so many people. It was really Pink Floyd's masterpiece that they first lost Sid early on, and then they were really trying to get their footing in all their albums, and you can hear their style evolving from that. I mean, Piper at the Gates of Dawn, their first, so dramatically different than Dark Side of the Moon, but they're finding their footing and they're getting to know each other and they're playing together and they're jiving together. You start to hear them really pick up at metal, and then by the time that you get to Dark Side of the Moon, it is just this beautiful masterpiece that they have so well crafted together as friends. You know, it's just they really, I think, you know, I've heard a lot of them say in interviews that was the pinnacle of their creativity and their oneness as a group. You know, they were really jiving on the same frequency. So, number one album. You guys know, if you know me, you know what band it's going to be. But do you know what record it's going to be? That's the question. My favorite band, for those who know me, is Led Zeppelin. And my number one pick was Led Zeppelin Physical Graffiti. And that kind of blows my mind because, you know, Zeppelin 3 was my favorite, but I don't know that I adopted it as my favorite until a little bit later on. This is a Japanese pressing. This is one of those albums that when I put it on, I'm like, my mind is blown. I did my Led Zeppelin albums ranked video, and I ranked this at number one because I do believe this is the best Zeppelin album. One of the best albums ever put together. Just so many incredible songs. This is a double LP, and there is not any filler. It is unbelievable the whole way through. Insane, killer, amazing. I really love this era of Zeppelin. Really like all eras of Zeppelin, but incredible record, and it was my number one pick when I was 14 years old, and God knows it's my number one pick now. So those are my top 10 picks when I was 14 years old, to give you a little bit of insight of why I am the way I am today. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, like I said, hit that subscribe button. Follow us on Instagram and just stay in touch with us. We're always putting out videos of recommendations, and I also do a weekly video called Heavy Rotation where I just talk about the records that I've been listening to that week. Thanks again, and we will see you guys next time.